Oh, no.
For more, go to emsv.qc.ca. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. I'm Maxine Cadet with your CTV update. Currently -13. Very detailed in minutes. Breaking news right now. Quebec's Minister for the French Language defends a new sign law. Governor Santé received a record amount of calls because of icy sidewalks. Montreal's professional women's hockey league team is in action tonight in studio. With the latest from the CJD 800 Traffic Center, here's Lauren Blake.
Who the fuck are you?
Delays on the westbound side of the Mesto between Anjou and Saint Denis, again between Des Lauriers and the Carry interchange. For the westbound side of the Pecan, a pretty slow drive as well. Accommodates through the sources. Northbound the Carry, you are losing time its length. Also delayed southbound the Carry now from the top runs out to Van Horn. Still pretty busy. Southbound 15 Turcotte runs out to the Champlain. For the westbound side of the 20, you are losing time. Turcotte back to Norman. Shop Marché Adonis for fresh fruits at low prices until January 17th. Clementines with leaves at $1.99 a pound. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 7:50.
In the news, the Minister of the French Language is defending Quebec's new signs law.
Yeah.
Starting in the summer of 2025, signs for all businesses will need to be at least 2/3 French. Meaning their name has to be French or they need to have French description. Signage. I'm about to speak with CTV's Matt Johnson on CTV News Montreal at 5. He says it's part of a larger effort with the government.
We are taking action on different matters. Exemplarité de l'État, signage outside stores, college,
That's what it's doing that.
and all those
Past 2 days,
solutions,
fucking
one by
up,
one,
down, up,
they
down,
will
up,
change
down.
something. But overall, I
Three days,
think
fucking turn it
it
off.
will stop the decline of French language here in Quebec.
Yeah,
There is no decline of the fucking French language.
They got a record 350 calls last weekend.
Why didn't the volume go up?
Tell
Just
on
put it
the
up.
sidewalk. Group Quebec is calling for the Quebec Transfer Commission to look at what can be done about icy sidewalks. Saying with climate change, it's only about to get worse. CJD 800 medical specialist Dr. Mick Shulman says if you don't have to go out when the weather is nasty,
If you have to go out, take your time. Give yourself more time to do things. Walk carefully. Don't run. Don't rush. If you're someone who uses a cane or some other device to help you, make sure that your cane has those special little
We'll keep turning it up and down. I don't care.
for the
Shit.
winter weather.
that priority needs in the sidewalk, you can mean slowing down
Yeah,
snow removal.
Lachine is literally like
Overseas, Russia is hosting North
Goes to
Korea's
the driveway.
diplomats for talks on expanding ties between the countries with a time of concern over an alleged arms deal.
North Korea's Foreign Minister Choi Song-hui arriving in Moscow for a 3-day visit, according to North Korean state TV KCNA. This comes after the U.S. and South Korea say Pyongyang has been sending Russia weapons, including artillery and missiles. Saying it has evidence missiles provided by North Korea have been used by Russia in Ukraine. In September, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un took a rare trip to Russia to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's still unclear what kind of deal it could be struck. And that's all I could hear. Right? It continues. Foreign events.
Oh, you mean like the deal about the ice breaking boats? That deal? Because like Russia's the only one who makes them, and now we're having an importing problem because the only place they could import by boat is the Panama Canal. What do we have? Canal.
For more news, go to CJD800.com.
I don't know. Will I be able to hear it?
Your Domain Weather Center forecast. Snow ending the season and clearing skies. Low -13. Wind chill.
No, I've been doing it for like 5 years.
Sunny tomorrow morning.
Initially, it was
Clouds
because I was.
around noon. High of -9.
Originally, it was because I was in an abusive relationship, so I kept getting accused of being places that I wasn't when I was outside shopping in front of my own home. So I started live streaming. and I became homeless and living in my car, and I hate all the music on the radio, and my dad used to listen to this station all the time, so I don't even know why I fucking listen to it, because it gives me PTSD. I'm like, but yeah, for like years I tried to like bond with my father over. He's like a news buff a little bit. Yes, I hate him. I hate Jim. I hate Jim Richards. This means he asked these guys, "Can you guys like chant my name for my interview?" Like,
the Emmy Awards last night, big deal.
does it? Because like everybody's like, I don't understand why do you, like some people it bothers them. That's why part of the reason why I do it too.
Oh, I was here. Yeah, but I was.
And also documenting all the fucking news that they take off afterwards.
A whole bunch of it during commercials. And I'm like, is the writer's strike still on? No, sorry, that was for Joe Coy, right? The governor's award went to GLAAD, and that's because they secured LGBTQ representation. I'm guessing the governor isn't Ron DeSantis on that one. Best talk show series, Trevor Noah. Man, Jimmy Kimmel hasn't been so insulted since, well, you know, Aaron Rodgers a couple of weeks ago, and the in
you know what
the dead people montage
blows my mind the amount of people
died on TV
who watch it on the regular.
That's my point. And finally, a Volvo.
And the more people don't
growing up,
like it, I realize it's the more that they have to hide.
A Volvo and a
the more that it bothers them, the more that they're trying to hide something.
Anyway, crashed into that Whole Foods. Did about $15,000 in damage, which
That's
is one bag of organic apples. And finally, according to a sex expert,
Wait, what?
the worst thing
Wait,
you
what?
do after sex is reach for your phone. I'm just guessing you had to make an e-transfer to somebody.
No,
right away.
I don't have a bank
Why
account.
else
I never
would you
wanted
do
a bank account.
that? I'm Jim Richards.
It's
For what? All
News
my no
Talk
money?
tonight on the iHeartRadio Talk Network. Here's your host, Jim Richards.
Thank you very much for all of your time, even if you're turning right now. Thank you very much for putting up with me already.
Bring back David Cooper.
We're here for the 3 hours of love, folks, with lots of information and lots of insight into the big issues of the
I
day,
hate him so much.
including me questioning. Somebody did something to me in an email earlier, and I was like, is that a trick? Is that supposed to work? And then I realized that I do it. When I'm trying to get a guest and writing an email to a guest, an expert in something, I will say, and it's tricky, thank you in advance. Looking forward to the conversation. Well, somebody tried that with me, and I'm like,
Honestly,
I
fully agree. I wish I would stop. Maybe it's because I put them on my Facebook too.
Move. It's like somebody like trying,
But then like some of the crazy shit that I'm listening to on the radio, I'm like, I need documentation of this shit.
When we're doing
It's
this,
just
and I'm like, I have no intention.
honestly,
But I just smile and nod.
it leaves me speechless sometimes, and like that doesn't happen often. I always have fucking
a little
something
bit
to say.
later on and weasel out of it. So whenever I get a thanks for your cooperation in advance.
Thank you for your
First
question.
of all, is it condescending?
Yes.
Is it like there's one like the way I use it is like try to.
I honestly don't think
encourage
Christian
them, like, what a
Freeland
great
knows.
opportunity I'm presenting to them to talk to me.
Nice to meet you.
and to you.
Thank you for not being a
I'm
creep
doing it on behalf of you.
and asking me to
What a
fake
great
snore. Because
opportunity
there's
there
someone
is
who
to
asks
have
me
a
to fake
chat
snore all the
on
time.
a national radio show. Thank you in advance. But sometimes it could be like, I don't know, if your wife or your husband, like, hey, could you take the garbage out? Thanks in advance, like that way.
Oh, what
There's
did
a
I
little, like,
say?
you need to be reminded that the garbage needs taking out.
Really? Look at
Thanks
your
in
neighbors.
advance. All right, it is the iHeart Talk Radio. We have lots of things to talk about today, including other things that I'd like to talk about. But you know what? There's restriction on how much horsing around there is.
Jim Richards has issues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
The last person I need to hear say that this is a clip from. The Jagmeet Singh always, I find him entertaining because it's like he doesn't know that he's the guy that made the deal with Trudeau. And whenever he's like, yeah, the government needs to do this, and it's like, it's almost as if he doesn't know that he's the guy that could bring down the government. It's entertaining sometimes. But when we're talking about the small business loans being extended, I have to say, Jugmeat is right.
Relief on this. A lot of this is the thing. It's going to put us in a really tough financial position.
Well,
Put those businesses in jeopardy, and also put the workers that work at those businesses in jeopardy. So we're saying let's have some flexibility and delay the deadline. This is joining, like you mentioned, Chorus of Voices. The premiums of all.
You know what, Jugmeat, you said it well. I mean, that was 37 seconds clip. I played 16 of it. That's all we need, Jugmeat.
I didn't even know his brother had all.
You're correct. You are right. Let us move along. Okay. One of the things that I've been interested in for a long time is the fact that I couldn't believe it. I'm reading up on important things, folks. And you would think when the grocery stores have the shrinkage, and that is the shrinkage of the staff, first, they're getting rid of the cashiers, that shrinkage, and then they realize
And then they
that
put
the stealing shrinkage
self-serve
isn't
checkout.
covering staff that they got rid of. They've evaluated self-check.
Starting to see more retailers pull back on self-checkout and rethink some of their decisions to expand it. Yeah, this deal's been the target for 5 or 6 years, so obviously I was a little perturbed when they decided to get rid of the stealing section. I don't mind paying for a few items here and there, but obviously I don't want to put rid of the stealing section.
The stealing section, I love this. In a survey about self-checkout, 1 in 5 shoppers reported that they accidentally.
The employees, they're 16-year-old
I
and
don't know.
67-year-olds.
I'm calling BS on that. Accidentally? How would you even, if you did it accidentally, how would you know that you've done it? Define accidentally. Anyway, not only do self-checkout machines double thefts, apparently, they actually increase labor costs. How could that be? Apparently, guy working in aisle 5 gets called to kind of help out at the cash because the cashiers are working, and now you're in trouble. Still, 60% of consumers, this has worked against us, 60% of consumers, and I have a hard time believing this. Have this many people not seen the Terminator of the machines turning against us?
Oh my God.
60% of people they prefer, well, I don't know that they think they prefer, they actually prefer self-checkout. We'll
They
dig
think
deeper a
they
little bit
prefer.
later on the show. Last night. The big winners and losers. And sometimes the big winners, I'm talking about the Emmy. And sometimes the big winners are the biggest losers.
Oh.
I'm talking about Trump.
So I don't want to be overly
Okay.
rough on the president, but I have to say that he is the worst president that we've had in the history of our country. He's destroying our country.
Since the last guy, I would agree. The worst president in the history of the country, right? Last guy, whoever that was. I don't know. I've said it before, but it was yesterday. I made it sound like I've got a great history of saying Joe Biden. I get it.
Okay.
You're not going to let him drive, but you're going to let him run the country?
Yeah.
Huh?
Because
But I said the same thing about
Biden's like fucking elder abuse at this point.
Not in a braggadocious way.
Now let me have the night in a braggadocious way. We heard our friend Chris Lewis earlier today here on the iHeart Talk Radio Network talking about a study that says increasing police budgets doesn't lower crime.
To say 1 year you spent X and the end result was crime.
IGA had a sign from the
Doesn't
or the
necessarily
boss, I guess, being
going
like,
to be the same
"Oh,
if you spend that amount of
stealing is
money
a
the next year."
crime, and it makes
Well, I
prices
think
go
there's
up."
also proof
I'm
of
gonna go
that,
back
and
and write
also,
a note being
I
like,
guess
first of all,
it's been
I go
to
the grocery store
but I
for
would
food.
say
not
I
law
was put
advice.
on hold
Second,
with
$14 for
911.
garlic.
They answered, then they put me
That's
on hold.
a fucking crime.
And
That's
they
that.
were, I guess they were triaging the most
Trying to pull
important
that fucking
calls.
garlic's
And
$14
me
fucking
calling in
fucking
about a
laugh.
dude with a syringe chasing women into the street wasn't a priority for them at the time. Then they were like, oh, well, you know what? We could free up somebody in 5 minutes or it could be 5 hours. Are they willing to stick around? And I'm like, okay. But maybe police budget would change that. They might not be able to stop that crime, but maybe response time would be higher. We'll talk about that straight ahead. It's the iHeart Talk Radio Network and the Rundown Net.
Now, an update from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center.
Watching a prolonged rush hour in very difficult driving conditions. The on-route is being cleared 40 westbound. Convoy making its way across the westbound side of the Ilotorp Bridge. 20 westbound has volume ahead of Angrio over to First Avenue. Heavy going as well ahead of Auto Route 13 as you make your way over to the Mercier Bridge. Outbound is solid on the approach to the span itself. 15 southbound backing into the Turcot interchange. To carry northbound is heavily traveled its length. The southbound side eases beyond the Jean Talon exit. Coastal ES eastbound has volume Cavendish into the Carry Circle. Inbound 40 is Cavendish over to Saint Laurent, where there's an incident blocking the right lane. Still some very heavy pockets of volume all the way across the Met westbound. T10 westbound has delays almost from Cavendish over to Auto Route 13. Shop Marché Adonis for fresh fruit at low prices until January 17th. Clementines with leaves at $1.99 a pound. Let us know what you see on the road. Call your tips to Star 800. Next report, 7:30.
Coast to Coast AM returns to CJAD 800.
Would you believe there's something extraterrestrial to them?
Join George Norrie and George Knapp as they explore the unexplained and the inexplicable.
Hovered over the ocean, Coast to Coast AM, North America's favorite late night radio show.
Be careful. Who knows what's going to happen with that?
Back on CJAD 800.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some breaking news on a couple of things here tonight.
Monday to Sunday, 1 to 5 a.m.
Hey, Nissan.
Kareem.
So my friends have 2 kids who play hockey. They need a spacious SUV.
That's a lot of driving.
And a lot of
Honestly, like, it was like cute at first. All these like old retired guys that are like, oh, this is it. We told you the UFOs. And now it's just like, okay, but some of you like actually have like really important jobs, and you guys I think are actually fucking serious. Like, holy shit. It was really cute at first, but now I'm like, oh, okay. I think that many people actually really think that these things that they're seeing in the sky are alien spaceships. Like, these are people with actually careers, mortgages, children. Like, I'm like, oh my god. I'm so unfair for your children. How did you survive infancy? I pulled the cap off. Oh god. I carried a 70-inch TV. Shoved it in my car yesterday. Very painful. Very heavy. What are you doing? Oh, don't you? Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. No.
Toronto, it could be as high as 16.5. Somebody said to me the other day, I was at dinner with Jerry, and somebody said, "Oh, I thought they already did that." And I said, "No, you'll know when that happens." And the guy said, "How?" Because they'll be crying on the radio from 7 until 11, just nonstop crying if that happens in Toronto. Let's be joined by our pundits right now. Karina Saad is a lawyer, political commentator, and journalist, and effectively everywhere. Follow her on X, formerly Twitter.
Yes.
How long has it been? Are we still saying formerly,
Yes.
Karina?
I'm still saying Twitter, so I'm behind it.
No.
Maybe at some
No, is
point.
there a timeline, or is this one of these things where, like, I'm going to still say Sky Dome and I'm not going to say Rogers Center?
What?
Yeah, and I'm not staking my identity on it, but I feel the app will collapse before I learn a new name.
I find the, hey, I'm going to say Sky Dome because I'm not going to don't want to say Rogers is a good argument, I get it. But sometimes the arena will change its corporate sponsorship, and I know it's happened in Montreal and in Ottawa. And when it happened here in Toronto, I was like, I'm going to still call it the Air Canada Center. I'm like, what are you fighting for, dude? Like, one company, another, like, what is your fight? It's not the same thing as Sky Dome versus Rogers Center. Anyway, Mark Mendelson joins us as well. Mark is a News Talk Tonight a contributor, also our crime specialist, also a former homicide cop. Mark, is there ever a homicide where you're like, that's a guy I want to catch? Have you ever, I don't know, like, no, I'm not cheering for murder. Don't get me wrong if anybody's hearing this the wrong way, but is there ever a story in the news and you're like, sign me up again, coach? Not that you guys have coaches. I know how homicide works, I think.
Well, I mean, and every time you see a murder, you're sitting there and you're sort of putting yourself back in that chair again in the office at 40 College Street and saying, here's what I'd be doing, and I wonder why they're doing that, or they're doing a great job. But yeah, I think it gets into your system, it gets into your blood, and you're sort of trained by the time you get to homicide to do a few things. Number one is to catch the bad guy or the bad girl, and number two, to keep calling it Young Dundas Square. Number three, it's still Twitter, and number four is still the
Cancel.
It is got to be
Number, like,
until it says that name is anyway. I don't want to do a trauma show or a national show, but okay, let's move along. And this, folks, you're going to hear a bit of a Toronto argument, but I think this goes for all big cities that have been facing
every
the
fucking
burden of
goddamn thing that
asylum
comes out of your
seekers
mouth is a fucking Toronto problem.
recently, and they're looking to the federal government saying, okay, you're doing the ollie oxen free across the planet, and they're coming to Canada and they're burdening cities like Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal with the fact that we don't have the services or the ability to pay for the services. So
No, we
in
didn't have
Toronto's
any
case, the mayor has said, hey, the federal government needs to help cities out right across the country, specifically Toronto. Yvonne Baker is a Toronto MP. What I hear him doing here is starting outrage with Olivia Chow, trying to fight for his job, because it looks like this could be a riding. I don't know. He just sounds like he's just he just wants his constituents to know that we're fighting for you.
I am absolutely outraged. Okay. This federal government has given more funding to the city of Toronto than any federal government in Canadian history. That's a fact. We're providing billions of dollars a year to the city. We funded everything from COVID to housing to asylum seekers to transit and so on and so forth.
Are you guys thinking about
billions a year. And most of the funding we've provided, John, has been for priorities that aren't normally federal jurisdiction. It's the kind of stuff that past federal government also the
I don't like it. The argument might be, yeah, you know what we did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we told everybody to show, well, this is today. So I don't know if there's a laundry list of things in the rearview mirror count. I mean, there are cities that are hurting right now and probably need federal and provincial help. Karima.
Well, what it sounds like he's trying to do is point out that we're better than other governments have been, so cut us some slack. But at the end of the day, you're right, we're dealing with the here and now. And in particular, when it comes to asylum seekers, I think that there is an argument to be made that the federal government is the only level of government with jurisdiction to really control that movement. And so the people are coming in, there should be corresponding, amounts of money that are transferred so the city can accommodate.
I'm guessing that whatever government is the current government in charge, just because things are always getting more expensive, anybody would be able to say we've given more to the city of Montreal than the previous government or other governments, that is just going to be a thing. So I get it. He's angry because it looks like Liberal MPs aren't doing their job.
Because they're not, though.
Toronto, but
I
don't know.
no,
Maybe
people,
just
Toronto's
do your
upset.
job.
Everybody, all of Canada, Toronto's
You see
upset.
what happened with the
How can we
Atlantic
help Toronto?
caucus of Liberals? They were able to get to Justin Trudeau and have him back off the carbon tax because it was expensive for people who were predominantly on oil. But what are your
he
thoughts?
wants you to
Mark?
freeze to death.
Well, it's interesting. All of this
When
stems
he
from an
decides to
article
put
in
everything
Toronto
to
Star,
renewable
a number
energies
of
and
Toronto Liberal
what was the other one he wanted to
MPs
do?
who, for
Oh
reasons of
yeah,
their own,
fucking
decided that they
nuclear
want to
power.
remain anonymous.
And
Which I
then
think is
our
actually
power
fine
kept
that
going
you
out for
discuss.
some strange reason.
You're somebody who was voted in by your constituency, and you can't put your name to an article that you're participating in. And of course, this morning this MP comes forward, and he says, "I wasn't one of the unnamed people." Now, you mentioned that you didn't think he wanted to fight with Mayor Chow, but during that interview with John Moore this morning, he basically called her a liar and said she's not telling you the truth. So I think you're right. He's trying to sort of speak to his, to his voting bloc in his area. But at the end of the day, Kareem is right. It is a federal thing. These people have committed this country, and they need to be in this country. But how many feet away from your radio station, from where you're broadcasting right now, were people living on the street all summer long because they had nowhere to go?
No,
and
not
that is
all
a
summer
federal
long.
responsibility. And all we seem to be doing is he's saying, well, Chow changes the goalposts all the time. I give them $26 million, and then she says, oh no, we need $108 million. And when we give her that, then she changes the goalposts again. Nobody is listening to anybody here, and the people who are suffering are the people who are living on the streets, and all of us in this city
No,
who
we'll be
are
fine.
looking to find money to help keep these people
Us poor
safe
people
and warm.
we're
It's just,
born into
to do
fucking
this anonymously
generational
through
debt. We'll be just fine.
I would agree with a study that says that police budgets and increasing them doesn't necessarily help bring down crime. Here's our public safety analyst, Chris Lewis.
To say 1 year you spent X crime with Y doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same if you spend that amount of money the next year because there are so many factors there. So it has to be, your budget has to be based on the number of years and averages and workload analysis to come up with how many people do we need to address that workload. Knowing that if you have less than that, calls are going to be put on hold, officers aren't going to respond to some occurrences, and then what's the net impact of all of that?
All right, this is not important to anybody, but
Our
did
real
anybody
estate
hear a
company is
Burden
going
background?
bankrupt with
Does he
over
have a bird? I think he's
5,000
in the south.
fucking
He probably
properties.
doesn't want us to know that he's on a beach somewhere. And some
Oh, he
chirping
planned his next
birds,
vacation
and
in
he's
Australia.
whimpering it out, but he's a liar.
I took an oath of secrecy. I can't say where he is, but I do know.
Okay, but Chris might have a point. But Mark, I don't know that means that you don't increase a budget because it does help with response times, right?
Yeah, I mean, people have interactions with police that are generally negative. Okay, it's not like the cops are coming over to have a coffee at your house. Someone broke into your house, someone stolen your car.
No, not even.
Intimate partner violence, all kinds of things, murders, robberies, car accidents.
No, I was having a panic attack.
And what I wish
They had
some of
fucking
these
tasers pointed at me, and they came into my apartment, and they searched my apartment. I said, "You can't do that."
I want to see what
They said that we had to make sure there's no one in here. I said, "Yeah, but you don't have a warrant." And like I told you, it was me. I'm having a panic attack.
Of a police service.
During the fucking interrogation. Back there's a I'm like, get the fuck out of my apartment.
Police car to show up at a major intersection when somebody schmucked your car, And what they're seeing is
Oh,
that we're
or the
getting
guy that runs out of his
25
apartment and they
minutes
go,
of good
bah, bah,
fun
bah, 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 bah.
on a 911 high priority
All
call.
right, we're past our
Waiting
break.
hours.
And then he's on the ground screaming, my
Famous
spine,
we
my
get in on that
spine.
in a
You
couple of
shot
seconds.
me in the
That's
spine.
my
And
famous
they
one. I am
handcuffed
the
him.
award-winning broadcaster,
Well,
Jim
he was
Richards, and this is what
flat
talking about.
face first on the ground, dead.
Now, an update from the
So you can imagine why we
CJAD
aren't really
800
into our
Traffic
cars.
Chicken westbound is starting to thin as you make your way towards Auto Route 13. Drive on the island is looking good. However,
Nope, that legit happened. That legit happened. Because even if you tend to be like, oh, was it a gun? Was it a gun? Oh, fireworks. Like, when you finally do hear a gun pop, you know it's a gun. So I decided to go investigate. And by the time I drove around the corner, he was on the ground screaming. You shot me in the spine. So obviously I kept driving, but there was a guy who was filming it the whole time. It's really fucked up.
some conditions apply. See details at WhatsApp. Let us know what you see on the roads. Calling us at star 800. Next report 745.
No, we're gonna change.
is iHeartRadio, the latest breaking news,
No.
commentary, and #1 podcasts. All free, all in one spot. With iHeartRadio, the news comes with you in your pocket, your car, and at home on your smart speaker. With exclusive contests, information, opinions, and interviews. So much more of what you love. Easy and free. Download the iHeartRadio app today.
Make a fresh start to the new year with Taconia Mini Entrepot. Clear with a whole lot of locations, Taconia Mini Entrepot is there for you. Try 4 weeks free. Details at taconia.com.
Having a fire or flood in your home is devastating. Fire damage, water damage, and smoke everywhere. What you don't need is to fight with insurance companies or contractors. Rodolfo specializes in full-service restorations.
Okay. Nobody changed it.